Hey guys, Jacob here, founder of Hermetica. And today I want to go a little bit further down the rabbit hole with you guys and talk about advanced DeFi strategies. And specifically, we're going to talk about a strategy that really uses a lot of different protocols on stacks to generate Bitcoin yield. But first, Adam mentioned this already, small disclaimer from myself as well. This is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. Do your own research. There's always risks when you're engage with DeFi and more advanced strategies. So Bitcoin yield is what we want, and is really enabled by Stacks DeFi through what I call money Legos. DeFi's strength is really to create multiple different primitives, multiple different Legos that then can be put together in a unique combination to generate, like I'm going to show you in a second, Bitcoin yield. So money Legos is how all of this gets enabled. And what I want to talk to you today, and I'm going to go through the different Legos and how to actually put them together to create a castle, is how to use different protocols, especially 3 different protocols, Zest, Hermetica, and Bitflow, to generate Bitcoin yield, and importantly, generate Bitcoin yield without taking exposure to the Bitcoin price. So it doesn't matter if the price goes up or down to generate this yield. This is called delta neutral. So I'm going to go through this. It has 3 different steps. I'm going to go through every step one at a time. I'm going to show you how to do it on the actual protocol in real time, so you can then get away from this conversation with the ability to do this as well. And also, importantly, do your own research, understand the risks, and then execute it if you so want to. All right, step number 1 is interacting with Zest. We want to start really, step number 0 really is to get some SBTC. So as Adam mentioned, you can come to app.stacks.co and deposit some BTC and mint some SBTC. So I assume you already have that done. And we go with step number 1, which is deploying that SBTC into Zest and borrowing USDH, which is Hermetica stablecoin, against that. So we head over to Zest. This is pretty simple. You can supply assets and you can borrow assets. So I go here, I have some SBTC in my wallet that is connected, and I can just hit supply and then supply that to Zest. There is some more information here that you should get familiar with, but I'm just going to supply that. My letter pops up that needs a password. I don't have that right now, but it doesn't matter because I have that already deployed. As you see here, I have SBTC deployed to Zest, your supplies. So I have around $100 of SBTC in my Zest account now, and I can now go here to the borrows and borrow some USDH. Go down here, I see USDH is here. I can borrow 50. Let me borrow a little bit less. Maybe let's borrow 10. Again, here you want to get familiar with this kind of information, what that means. You can also go a little bit deeper, understand everything around LTV and liquidation, very important for risk management. And so if I want to borrow these 10 Bitcoin, I can just click here, borrow. And again, it will show up my letter and I can borrow that. I already have 30 USDH borrowed. And so now I have SBTC. I'm exposed to SBTC. It's just supplied to Zest. And I have some USDH borrowed against that I can then use in step number 2. Because step number 2 is to get some yield on that USDH. And I can do that by going to Hermetica and staking it and receiving the liquid staking token SUSDH in return. So let me show you that in a second here. Go to Hermetica. There's the stake tab at Hermetica. I'm on that already. And it's very simple. You just, I have 20 USDH in my wallet. So I can just select them and click stake. And that is really all it takes to do this. I already have staked some USDH. As you see, I have some SUSDH here. So you can go to the portfolio page and you see how much you have staked. In my case, it's around $10 and how much USDH you have. And then you will see every day your yield coming in here. You see the line of the yield on USDH is up and to the right. So you get every day, you get paid out yield. Right now, over the last 7 days, it has been 8%. On the dashboard, you can get more information about the APY as well. Over the last 30 days, it's been around 9%, as you can see here. It fluctuates, but it's been quite consistently high. In fact, since inception of the protocol, which was around a year ago, stakers have earned around 15% on their USDH. So if we go back to the strategy, we have SBTC deployed on Zest. We have borrowed USDH against that. We still are exposed to Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin price goes up, we still capture that. And then now we have staked our USDH and received the liquid staking token SUSDH. Now, the third step is really as we get more yield in USDH from this strategy here, we will want to swap that for SBTC through BitFlow. And that is very simple as well. You can go to the BitFlow site, select USDH, select SBTC and whatever amount you want to swap. I'm not going to do this right now, but then you can just swap it over and it's a one click. So now you said, okay, Jacob, this is an interesting strategy, but how do I make money, right? What's my P&L? What's my profit and loss on this strategy? And it's really quite simple. So if you look at Zest, we are paying to borrow, which is 5.73%, but we're making money on the USDH that we have staked, which is over the last 30 days around 9%. Over the last year, it's been over 15%. So that difference between the amount that we are paying and the amount that we're receiving from the staking, right? We're receiving USDH staking yield, we're paying USDH borrow rate. The difference between the two is our Bitcoin yield. So let's say we run this for a year and rough numbers are 10% in USDH staking yield. Again, over the last year, it's been around 15, and the USDH borrow rate is around 5%. The difference between the two over a year will be 5%. And then we will take those 5%, and as I laid out in step 3, we will swap it back into SBTC. So now we have made a 5% Bitcoin yield. Still exposed to Bitcoin, but we have 5% more Bitcoin, and we have never taken any exposure to the Bitcoin price. But it actually gets better than this, because if you go to Zest here, you see that your SBTC that is supplied to Zest also is earning money. It's earning a Zest yield, which is the yield that you get from supplying this asset and then other people borrowing SBTC, which is quite small, but there's something there. And then you get the protocol yield, which is the SBTC rewards program that Adam was talking about earlier. If you don't have to register this. If you go and deposit to Zest, Zest automatically registers your SBTC for this program. You get around 3% a year paid out in SBTC. And then you get an additional boosted yield from Zest that is 0.5% a year. So you get an additional 3.5%, which we have to obviously put into our P&L. So these add up to 3.5%. Then the staking yield is 10%, and we pay the borrow rate, which is 5%, which is around, if you add them up, 8.5% a year. Now, this assumes that we're using 100% TVL, which is in practice not possible. It's around 70%, 60%, depending on your risk tolerance. So this will be slightly lower, but you get the idea. You can get a 5% plus yield on your Bitcoin through the strategy using Zest, Hermetica, and BitFlow, and you're not taking any exposure to the price. So let's talk about risks, right? Nothing in life that generates yield comes without risk. If somebody tells you there's no risk, then they're probably lying to you. So the main risks here, these are not all the risks, there are more risks than this, but the main risk if you run the strategy is liquidation risk. You are borrowing against your Bitcoin. If price moves, the yield doesn't change, but if the price moves very quickly and very far, you can get liquidated on your position on Zest, which you obviously want to avoid. There's a penalty that comes with being liquidated. So it's a big risk that you want to manage, and you should really understand how liquidation works before you deploy this kind of strategy. There's also the variable yield risk. The yields are not static. The borrow rate on Zest changes every day, really depends on supply and demand on the platform, and so does the yield that you receive on Hermetica, right? If you look at this chart, this changes every day. It's consistently pretty high, but it changes and can fluctuate up and down. So there are scenarios where the yield on Hermetica goes very much down and the borrow rate goes up, and you could end up with a negative yielding scenario. So you want to make sure that you understand those and can manage that risk. And lastly, there's duration risk. Hermetica's staking mechanism has a 7-day unstaking period. So you have to wait 7 days until you get your USDH back when you unstake it. And that can be a problem because you have to manage that risk if the yields go up and down frequently. Additionally, obviously, if you're interacting with DeFi, there's always the risk of smart contract exploits and in generally just the technology that's underpinning stacks and the different protocols not working. So you want to really understand that and underwrite that on your own research. But to recap this strategy and what it can bring you is BTC on BTC yield, right? So you can really earn Bitcoin on Bitcoin yield through simple interactions with DeFis on stacks. It's fully on chain. You're interacting with 3 different protocols. It's all on chain. It's all transparent. It's all verifiable. You can audit it at any time. And it's delta neutral. You're not exposed to the Bitcoin price. You have to manage your liquidation on Zest, but the yield itself doesn't change if Bitcoin price goes up and down significantly. So that is very good for your peace of mind. All right, that's the strategy that I want to present to you. I hope it was clear and you understand both the benefits and the risk. Come and say hi to me on X at jacob.fi, at jacob_BTC. Follow me, send me a message if you're executing this trade and have any questions. Happy to answer them. Also follow us at Hermetica FI. And if you want to stay up to date on what we're building at Hermetica, come to our website, Hermetica FI, scroll to the bottom and put in your email here. We send out very frequent, weekly updates on what we're building, and we always encourage you to be here on this email list because you will be the first ones to get information about new products. That's it. That's all I got. Thanks so much for being here. Talk soon.